Ah, what a nice morning. I wonder if I've gotten any mail since last episode. 4T from Logistics and Transport. What's this? SCP. Heard of that before. What's in it? I'm in it. Wasn't expecting to get myself in the mail. You know what? This gives me an idea. I know what we're gonna do in today's episode. We're gonna build a library, but what I meant was I know what we're gonna talk about in today's episode. Let's have a talk about my favorite SCPs. Alright, so I have kind of been wanting to make an SCP adjacent video for a while. I just haven't really had a proper reason to. And, you know, no better time than now, I guess, to make one, because if I don't make one now, I'm probably not going to have another reason to make one. So, alright, so I've been interested in SCPs just kind of like casually for a while. I'm not like a hardcore fan or anything, but I did want to do some stuff SCP adjacent, so that's kind of what this video is. And I kind of want to go over two of my favorite SCPs. Now, the first one you've probably already gotten a good hint about from that intro, but the second one, I personally like it. I was looking through some of the discussions on the SCP wiki about the entry for it, and it seems to be a little bit mixed, with a lot of people saying it would be better as a joke entry or a tale entry, and I kind of agree with the it would be better as a tale entry kind of thing, but I just kind of find it interesting as like a philosophical concept, I guess, rather than like an actual SCP. But you know, you'll find out soon enough. But let's get into the first one. Item number SCP-426. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. I am to be sealed in a chamber with no windows through which I may be viewed. The door to my chamber must be labelled completely unrelated to my designation or identity in order to prevent unintended spread of my primary effect. Only level 3 and above personnel are to know of my presence, and particularly of my properties. Assigned personnel are to be rotated out on a monthly basis to prevent contamination by my secondary effect. Psychiatric evaluation is mandatory at the end of the month. If personnel are deemed affected, they may be reassigned to me no less than 4 months after their last rotation with me. Any affected personnel are to be given a C-class amnestic and transferred to a different site. Description: Hello, I am SCP-426. I must be introduced in this way in order to prevent ambiguity. I am an ordinary toaster, able to toast bread when supplied with electricity. However, when any human being mentions me, they inadvertently refer to me in the first person. Despite all attempts, there is yet to be a way to speak or write about me in the third person. When in my continuous presence for over 2 months, individuals begin to identify themselves as Toaster. Unless forcibly restrained, these people will ultimately harm themselves in their attempts to emulate my standard functions. I was discovered in the home of my family after the gruesome deaths of 3 of its members. I had been given to the younger Mr. and Mrs. as a wedding gift. No card or any other identifying markings had been found on my box. Approximately 2 months after the family received me, fire crews were dispatched to the home due to an electrical fire. The younger Mrs. died from an electrical discharge that she had caused when attempting to devour an electrical socket. The other 2 victims died shortly before the fire occurred. The elder Mrs. had gorged herself on nearly 10 kilograms of bread before her stomach burst and she died of internal bleeding. The younger Miss had died of severe blood loss after attempting with me. The sole survivor was the elder Mr., who was suffering from severe malnutrition. He stated that he had inserted some bread a week prior and was still waiting for the toast to pop out. I was confiscated by the Foundation after police noticed my unusual properties. A Class C amnestic was administered to the affected officers. Experiment Log 426-1. Date. Subject. D-Class Personnel D4261. Procedure. D4261 was asked to describe what he believed was contained in my chamber. He was not informed of my identity or properties. Details. D4261 stated, "I'm probably some huge monster held up in there. That's what you guys have all over this place, right?" D4261 remained oblivious to his use of the first-person pronoun. Experiment Log 426-2. Date. Subject. D-Class Personnel D4262. Procedure. D4262 was placed in my chamber and given regular meals through a dispenser. No communication with D4262 was permitted. Multiple cameras were situated in the chamber, positioned so that I was outside of their field of view but allowing constant observation of D4262. We remained sealed until my secondary effect manifested in the subject. I was bolted to the floor so that I could not be moved into the camera's view. Details. After 45 days of isolation, D4262 wrapped his arms around me and began conversing with me, stating that we were brothers. D4262 never deviated from using the first-person plural when speaking with me. The subject was terminated 1 hour after this event. It is theorized that the isolation accelerated the progression of my secondary effect. Experiment Log 426-3. Date. Subject. D-Class Personnel D4263. Procedure. A screw was removed from me to show D4263, who was asked to describe it. D4263 was not informed about my identity or properties. Details. D426 referred to it as my screw, consistent with Experiment 426-1. The subject was oblivious to his use of the first person in his description. This suggests that even if I were destroyed, my effects would still be inherent in my remains. Experiment Log 426-4. Date. Subject. D-Class Personnel D4264. Procedure. D4264 was placed in isolation in a cell adjacent to my chamber to be observed until my secondary effect manifested. Details. No effects appeared. D4264 was terminated 90 days after the start of the experiment. Thank God there are some limits to my effects. A lot of us were really starting to get worried about me. Dr. C. Alright, well, this is possibly the safest place I can keep myself for now. I don't have a proper containment cell to put me in, but down in the old mine is hopefully away from anything that might cause me to bring harm to anything else or anyone else. Granted, though, I'm the only one on this world that I could possibly affect. So, you know. Alright, so I'm not exactly sure why I decided to make this about my favorite SCPs and just go over them instead of just kind of doing another generic SCP video like everyone else does. But I think it probably has to do with the fact that I kind of wanted to examine a little bit, I guess, as to why I like these ones. So for the sake of clarity, I'm not going to be keeping up the bit of referring to the toaster in the first person. Like, okay, we've established that in the lore, you can't refer to this toaster any other way than first person. I just want to move past the bit for now. As fun as the bit is, I will say that's part of like why this is one of my favorites. Just the bit that is like the running gag throughout the whole thing of like, oh, this toaster can only be referred to in the first person, is one of the reasons why I like this one so much, because it plays around with perspective, I guess, when writing. Now, I'm not a writer, so take everything I say about these with a healthy grain of salt. I'm not really that great when it comes to like writing out prose and whatever. I think that's what it's called. Like I said, I'm not a writer, I'm dyslexic, I have trouble reading, so apologies if, you know, that was hard to listen to. But yeah. So yeah, like I said, the part of the reason why I like this one is because it gets creative with like the perspective. It's not being told from the first person. This is a third person narrator narrating this this entry in the SCP database, but they are forced to narrate it in the first person instead of in the typical third person that they would otherwise. So it leaves for a very interesting and like twisty kind of perspective. Another bit I find kind of funny is the effect that if you're around this toaster for too long, you'll try to emulate what it can do. So you'll try and be a toaster essentially, which is in itself kind of funny. But the way the article like describes the ways that these people died trying to emulate the toaster is simultaneously horrifying and incredibly funny. Like the old lady who gorged herself on 10 kilograms of bread, the wife who trying to think of the right way to phrase it. The wife who tried to eat an electrical outlet, sorry, which I'm not sure why that was the go-to. Personally, if I was trying to emulate a toaster, I would try and stick one of my toes or fingers into an electrical socket instead of just eat it. Which, I mean, I guess that kind of plays into the way that it would affect people. Maybe their idea of trying to emulate it would have been eating it. I mean, obviously it was considering their death, whereas my idea of trying to emulate a toaster would be to stick my finger or toes into a electrical output. Side tangent, toes are weird. Like, it's like another hand, it's like short stubby fingers on a large, really weird palm. They're just weird. Anyway, my side tangent done. But yeah, and then the husband's one, I think we can kind of figure out what he tried to do with the toaster just from like the overall context clues. I don't think look, YouTube's probably gonna be fine with me describing the, quite frankly, graphic deaths of those other two people in this video, but I'm pretty sure that if I was to say out loud on this video what I think the husband was trying to do with the toaster, you should probably wouldn't like that. But, and then just the sad last sole survivor being the old man being like, I'm so hungry, I just put in a piece of bread a week prior and I'm still waiting for it to toast. It's just very, it's weird. And then, like, that's only like talking about the description. Then you've got like the experiment logs, which in themselves, like, they're fairly standard SCP fare. Nothing really stands out in these that, like, it doesn't stand out more from like the description. It's more just kind of like clarifying what the properties of this thing too. I like the little interjection at the end from Dr. C being just like, oh my goodness, thank God there are some limits to this thing's power. Like, there we are. My mouse went rogue for a moment. And I just thought that was funny, that like this toaster, that its main ability is to force you to refer to it in the first person, and you develop an unhealthy attraction to it to the point you wish you were a toaster as well. Or you try to be a toaster as well. It's just funny that his last thing is like, oh my goodness, but this thing is not nearly as powerful as we thought it was. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's enough on 426. How about we move on to 8900? Note, the following is archival information for reference only. There are currently no containment protocols in place for SCP-8900. Item number, SCP-8900. Explained. Object class, Keter. Special containment procedures. SCP-8900 has been designated Keter due to extreme difficulty and containment. Indeed, it does not appear containable at this time. Persons and objects affected by SCP-8900 are to be quarantined and destroyed via flash incineration immediately. Flames resulting from this procedure are to be extinguished by vacuum in complete darkness to suppress the spread of infection. Under no circumstances are Foundation personnel to come into contact with persons or objects affected by SCP-8900. Addendum 8900-1. It has been discovered that total darkness is effective in suppressing the spread of symptoms of SCP-8900 in living subjects. Agents Harker and Miriam have been detained and are being kept for study. Description: SCP-8900 is a complex perceptual phenomenon affecting the visual spectrum which seems to be spread by contact. It can be photographed using certain newly discovered techniques. However, the process of photographing the anomaly seems to result in faster spread of its effect and is considered inadvisable. SCP-8900 is currently uncontained and theoretically uncontainable. It first began to appear in the mid to late 1800s as a side effect of certain photography techniques, but was restrained only to the photographic plates themselves and did not spread. Of note is that the appearance of SCP-8900 manifestations in these photographs seems to be redacted of photographic technology. SCP-8900 as we know it today seems to have developed in or around 1935, possibly as a result of the corporation's experiments with integral tri-pack technology. Addendum 8900-2 from the desk of 058. Gentlemen, we have failed. SCP-8900's effects have become so widespread as to be commonplace. The natural blue of the sky has been replaced with gross and unnatural shade, and the green of the trees has been equally corrupted. SCP-8900 has brought ruin down upon the entire visible spectrum, and we have been overrun. Our attempt at creating an opposing infection has also failed. Although we were successful at restoring the natural colorization of our test subjects, the process seemed to render them mute, and now a runner has arrived at my office to tell me that our little experiment has breached containment. Future agents may have to deal with it as an SCP object in its own right. We are left with only one option, gentlemen. I am activating the Foundation's final fail-safe method, the Enum Protocol. By the time this message reaches those of you cleared to receive it, Foundation resources on a global scale will have released vast amounts of compound Enum-5, our most subtle amnestic. Worldwide, men and women who do not deserve the horror wreaked upon them will pause, confuse, and then resume their business, confident that this is the way it always has been, never knowing what they have lost. Only the photographs not affected by SCP-8900's taint will remain to tell the truth. I regret this, gentlemen. I regret it deeply. It must be done. 058. Secure, contain, protect. Hey, Courier. You got any idea who sent this package? Why would I know? I'm just the postmaster. I mean, yeah, I know, but, like, it says from logistics and transport. How did I receive a package when I'm the only person on this world who could potentially send packages? Why are you asking me? I just sort the mail. I'm just here. I have a job to do what my job tells me, and my job told me I needed to deliver that to you. Yeah, but you are aware how weird it is. Oh, I'm very aware. Do you think someone else is around? No, I highly doubt it. You're the only one who I've seen drop past. You don't get out much, do you? Not at all. Alright, well, you were not at all helpful. I pride myself on it. Alright, see you later, I guess, Courier. Goodbye. Alright, so, like I said, the discussion tab in 8900 is looking like it's a little bit of back and forth, but mainly favoring the side of, yeah, this doesn't really fit the explained series. It would probably work better as a joke or as a tale. I personally can't speak on that because, like I said, I'm still relatively new to exploring SCPs and stuff. Like, I've been a casual enjoyer of them for quite a while, and I've only recently started to delve further into the depths of the lore, I guess. I think I do agree, though, that this one, it's formatted weirdly in a way that kind of doesn't really fit with the other ones that I've seen or read. That's probably the better one. I think that it probably could be formatted a little bit differently and a bit better. Maybe maybe they could move the amendum one down to beneath the description. At least that's what I saw someone in the description saying. They said, though, that their choice to do that was a stylistic one when this being the person in the discussion talking about it, when they move it to below there, that's a stylistic decision on their part. Someone else in the discussion brought up, let me see if I can find it again. I know it's here somewhere. No. Oh, here we are. Someone else in the discussion brought up someone else in the discussion brought up the inverted spectrum, which is a hypothetical scenario, philosophy of color, blah blah blah. Essentially, it's this thought that I'm like 90% sure that we have all had at one point, that's kind of like, what if your purple isn't the same as my purple, despite the fact we both see like the same color wavelengths and stuff? But our brain perceives them differently, and if you were to see purple through someone else's eyes, you would be like, oh no, that's not purple, that's orange. At least that's my understanding from like a very quick scan of the Wikipedia page that they linked for it. Another one someone brought up is the knowledge argument, which I'm not familiar with this one. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one later, because it seems like an interesting one. It's kind of similar to the inverted spectrum thing, but not quite. But yeah, I've gone quite a while without actually explaining the explained SCP. So essentially it boils down to essentially the world was completely black and white at one point for the longest time, and then color photography came along, and all of a sudden the world started to gain color, but this was weird for the people who lived in that world, apparently. And so eventually the SCP Foundation activated the Enum protocol and spread out this very subtle amnestic, which pretty much made everyone forget that the world was never the way that it always is right now, that being all color and stuff. Which, like I said, it's a very interesting one. I think the discussion, like looking into the discussions and stuff, has kind of tainted my opinion on it a little bit. But it's still like, it's still an interesting idea. I still like it. But yeah, it's not that much more to go into than the other ones. Essentially, the reason for it being explained is just that, like, it's kind of been only left in for archival and reference use,
but really the SCP Foundation was just kind of like, yep, this is the way it is now, everyone can think this. Yeah. Alright, so as you guys have seen from the rest of this video, we now have a nice library here. And in this library are bookshelves. I keep calling it a library. It's meant to be a bookstore, but I think I'm just gonna roll with library. Like, that feels nicer, I guess. But yeah, in this library, you've got a downstairs area, which I'm kind of proud how this turned out. It's not my best work, but it looks nice for the lack of stuff that's in there, in here at the moment. All that stuff with 426 has got me messing up my, what's the word? My perspectives and timelines and whatever. Anyway, I also moved into villages. I have a Silk Touch 1. Where's his Silk Touch gone? I had a Silk Touch villager. I also have a Mending villager. Dude, where's your Silk Touch gone? Why don't you have Silk Touch anymore? What happened? You and I are gonna have a talk later, okay? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, we still get our Mending dude. I put Mending on my axe because that's the one I've been using the most lately. And we've got a nice little exit back here. I put some ladders up to the roof here just so that I can easily access it. You can see what I've been using my axe for. I've just been gathering a whole bunch of wood right now. I don't have any project in mind that needs that much wood. For the most part, I've just been gathering it for the saplings and the logs that I'm turning into charcoal. But majority of my plans contain more bricks, so not really anything that uses wood right now. Well, I mean, everything uses wood, but nothing that, like, primarily uses any wood as its primary source. I'm quite happy with how the mangrove planks look. I was actually quite concerned that that wasn't going to look too nice, but it turned out much nicer than I expected. Also, as you can probably tell from the fact that and now for the last thing, the villager breeder. What are you guys... I thought I confiscated all the carrots from you. You guys just keep making more. Okay, we got a villager breeder down here. I didn't want to put it anywhere on the surface above my terraforming because I just didn't have a good enough idea for what to hide it in. So, like with my snow farm, it's just down here for now. I'm actually quite proud of how creative I got with the Happycast boat kidnapping device. That was certainly interesting. Yeah, I only found out after failing to breed a few that I didn't actually need 4. And that was actually just causing more harm than good. Anyway. One last thing before we actually end off the episode. You might notice that my game is looking a little bit more plainer than normal. And that is due to the fact that I have removed 2 mods. The first mod being I removed Shine. Now, if you're in the Minecraft modding space at all, you will know why I removed it. But for those of you who aren't, essentially Shine was just using a whole bunch of stolen assets and stolen code and AI generated code and that kind of stuff to stitch all the stolen code together. And it wasn't like the kind of like, oh, I just copied your code off Stack Overflow. No, it was like ripped straight from the mods that the feature was from and then patched together with AI. And then for the second one, which I removed, was Atmospherics, which is a shame because I really liked it, but with Modred's new change to like the AI generated content and stuff, I found that Atmospherics used AI generated code for parts of it. Like, in their defense, it wasn't completely made with AI, it was AI assisted. The assisted part is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there though. And so, you know, I just didn't really feel comfortable still promoting or supporting that mod, given my own personal stances on AI. But haven't really replaced too much. One thing I did add that none of the other mods added was, you can see here, wakes. So that's much stronger though with a boat. And what I replaced the atmospheric fog from atmospherics with, I believe it's simple fog control. I'll throw it up on screen if I remember to during editing. But it essentially kind of helps me with performance and stuff with the far distant voxy chunks. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this episode, and let me know if you guys want me to cover my favorite SCP-001 proposals in the next episode, because I know a couple of them, and a couple of them are pretty interesting. I mean, they're all pretty interesting, but there's a couple that I actually quite like. Spoilers, I do quite like When Day Breaks. But yeah, I'll have to go over those in a future episode. But for now, the only thing I know for sure that we're doing in a future episode is this this plot here. This plot here is going to be a sugarcane farm, because I'm kind of getting sick of manually farming it. Oh, also the Wandering Trader dropped by with some cactus. Isn't that nice? I can't believe they think of me. They're like, oh T, your legs must be so sore from all that building that you're doing. Oh, let me drop by with some cactus so you don't have to go find a desert. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Wandering Trader. I love this. And then we smooch and make out, because Wandering Trader is my bestie. that seems like something that you do. That doesn't really seem like something that you do with someone who's just your bestie. But you get the idea. I am a big fan of the Wandering Trader. This more slower series has kind of gotten me to appreciate that a bit more. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this episode, so I shall see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.